How is everybody tonight? You know, I always start this show off by showing love to those companies who help make this podcast possible. Guys, my friends over at BLUON, I talk about them a lot, but I love these people. I love what they stand for. And guys, they have a lot of changes, man. One of the biggest things that people have been talking about, if you listen to the podcast, I just released from them at AHR. And just a note, the sound quality is not that great. We're in an expo. But anyway, it's always been guys wanting to order parts through their stuff, using the tech support, all the stuff that we know about. But when it came to the ordering parts part, it was like, hey, I'm a technician. I can't control where I order parts from. I have to do what my boss says. Now BLUON is going after the contractor, the owners, the bosses, giving them the same kind of resources that they're giving technicians. They're going to be able to add all their technicians, whether they're a current BLUON member or not. Then they're also going to be able to go in there to their dashboard and find out exactly what their technicians are ordering. Hey, we should stock more of these parts because everybody's using them. They're going to know what tech support calls that you've made and what they're regarding. And it's not a bad thing, but hey, now the manager, the service manager, whoever can go, hey, this Billy guy has had a lot of calls on heat pumps. Maybe we should provide him some training on heat pumps. You know what I mean? It's a good thing. BLUON is raising the bar again. I absolutely love what they're doing. And just so you know, I have a bucket hat giveaway that they have for them and some of their leftover cups from AHR. That's going to be on Instagram. It's going to be on Instagram only. So make sure you go check that out. One of the newest sponsors that I'm dealing with, it's actually, this deal just got signed like 2 hours ago. They don't even have their logo up yet. And it is Field Pulse, the field service software. And guys, I'll be honest with you, I've stayed away from a lot of these softwares for a while because, it's always hard to recommend one. And you guys know if I recommend something to you, it's got to be something that I truly believe in or I won't recommend it. I won't lie to you. We are not currently using this software. But granted, that is not just my decision. Ryan, who you guys have seen before, that's his decision as the owner. We make it together. But I have been using this in a test account for quite a little bit. And I actually really like it. Do I think it's perfect? I don't think there's no such thing as a perfect CRM. I know they just won an award for being, if we scroll back up here to the top, they just won an award in 2023 for being the best CRM out. And I really like a lot that they have to offer. So a lot of you guys out there, if you are from a 1 truck to maybe 10 to 15 trucks, I think Field Pulse is something that you should take a look at. I will have a discount code here soon that you will be able to click on to get a special rate just for being one of my loyal friends. But always remember, guys, when I mention these things, I just want you to think about these when you go to do something. I'm not begging you, telling you to do anything. I just try to get you discounts to some awesome products and services that I think that you might need. All right. You know what? I'm not doing any other ones. Let's get on this pledge and let's talk to my amazing guest that we have tonight. Let's rock and roll. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless the United States, and thank you to all those men and women who defend it.
Five, four, three, two, one.
Welcome to the #1 rated HVAC podcast. If you're looking to grow in the HVAC industry, then you're in the right spot. Blue collar people talking about blue collar shit. Let's get better together. So turn up the volume, buckle your seatbelt, and let's welcome your host, Gil Cavey Jr.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the HVAC Uncensored Podcast. I am your host, Gil Cavey Jr., here on another Wednesday night. thank everybody for here in the chat, man. Sorry about the streaming software has been like smoking crack here lately. I'm not sure what was going on. It didn't show up at first. But anyway, thank you guys for being here. Jason Johnson, East Coast, Mr. Adrian, Reliable HVACR, Mr. Jared, Adam. What's up, everybody? If I miss you, I apologize. But guys, I have an awesome guest tonight that he's not in the HVAC industry, not in the slightest bit. Besides, he technically works in an HVAC office around HVAC people. Nate is a friend of mine that it's been a joy. He's just an all-around good guy that it's been a pleasure to be able to become friends with him. He is a master automotive tech. I mean, this guy understands automotive on a whole nother level, kind of like some of us understand HVAC or wish we understood HVAC. So he's a master at that. And then he's also has a very good business mind. So him and Ryan do, when I said that Ryan started a podcast, the Ryan and Nate Service podcast. Well, this is Nate. He's the other half of that podcast. And they're also doing some business consulting. So I thought it would be awesome to have him to come on here and talk about some of the similarities of the trade and just some amazing conversations that I know we can have. So without further ado, would you guys please help me welcome my friend, Mr. Nathan Wigley.
What's up, dude?
What's up, buddy? Thank you for being here, man.
Yeah, this whole like beginning. I don't know. I feel like I'm on some big show, man. I'm on. This is awesome.
Hey,
this is big time.
Yeah, hey, I'm kind of won an award for this, man. You know what I mean?
I know. I've kind of heard about it.
So, I guess real fast, I know it's in the automotive industry, but if you want to give, the listeners, the viewers, a brief little story about who you are, my man.
Yeah. My name is Nathan Wigley. I've been in the automotive industry for 28 years. My dad took over an independent automotive repair shop. And I was that kid. That like his dad had a business and I was sweeping the floor. I was painting the walls. I was cleaning the toilets when I was like 12. And then he put a wrench in my hand. And I started working on cars and I loved it. So for 28 years, I worked my way up through the ranks doing, everything from changing light bulbs to replacing engines to doing massive diagnostic jobs where, we got into computers and reprogramming, reflashing, all that kind of stuff every single day. And then moved into the management of the business and just fell in love with business and started looking at the business like a machine and trying to figure out how can we tweak and turn knobs on the business to make things better so that it runs smoothly, just like a good, well-running car would do. So I love people. I'm a family guy. I love my wife. I've been married 23 years, got 4 kids. And my son's now in the business. So, yeah, I'm excited. We're taking over the family business. We're running the business and also doing this consulting on the side. And now in the last few months, I started a podcast. Never thought I would do that. But Gil, you've become I'm like the Padawan learner, dude. You are like my Obi-Wan Kenobi, my friend, in everything podcast. So,
well, hey, I appreciate that, man. And everybody helped me in the beginning. So I like to be able to help other people and I still learn as I go, but, I think it's awesome. And you guys have said before, if you're looking for any kind of trade business oriented stuff, check out their podcast, the Ryan and Nate Business Podcast. It's on any place you would find mine, you will find theirs. So yeah, I listen to it all the time. I just listened to the last one and they're doing a lot of local business owners, but they're really, really cool stories, whether they're local to you or not. They're really good stories talking about good stuff. I haven't checked out the one that was out this week. The last one I think was Magnolia Electric. That's the last one I listened to.
Magathie Electric. Yeah. We're blue collar guys and I know the blue collar world. So like hanging out the HVAC guys like makes sense to me because it's just like hanging out with automotive techs. But this last episode we did was a restaurant owner, totally different world. I love restaurants, but I didn't know that business. So it was fun to talk to a guy who started 2 restaurants.
I'd love to hear that because I hear that the margins are low in restaurants. You know, like you don't make as much money and they put in a shit ton of work. I mean, they probably work harder than any of us in the trades, you know, for less.
Yep. And this guy actually, he has two restaurants, but they're not a repeat of the other one. They're totally different restaurants, different names, different themes, everything. So it was very interesting. I love it.
Yeah, it's probably not a bad idea. So one thing I wanted to talk about, and we can go, it's one thing about it being my show. We can go in whatever avenue we want to. But one thing that me and you were talking about, you know, just walking around and stuff like that is the similarities between automotive and the HVAC industry. I've always said that a lot of times automotive will come out with something and then the HVAC steals it. One of the biggest things is the UV dye that we put in air conditioning systems. That was in automotive, you know, for a long time. You know, so it's, how do you see it on your side?
Yeah, for sure. Well, with the UV stuff, I've always, so you can educate me. Do you guys deal with leaks a lot? Like automotive, we have so much the elements, dealing with the elements and the moving around the car, the age of the car. You know, a lot of times, you know, HVAC units, I don't know how long they last, but people are still driving around cars that are 40 years old. So I'm just dealing with a lot of AC leaks, a lot of them. So is that maybe why we were on the front end of that, figuring out how to find the leaks? I'm not sure.
It could be. Plus, you're also in a tight spot where you can't see everything, and we can't either. So what happens is so people can replace their air conditioner, but not their refrigerant lines. You know, so there still could be leaks. Most people don't replace their AC in their car without everything being replaced for the most part, right? Because it's all together. It's all kind of like a package unit.
Well, yeah, it depends. It depends on what breaks, right? So, well, the one thing that just popped into my head is, we have a lot of rubber lines, a lot of flexible lines. We have to, because of the vibration of everything going on. You guys have a lot of hard lines, so they don't leak as much. But when it comes to units, so, I mean, I'm assuming it's the same at HVAC. If something breaks, like for instance, if the compressor goes out, like there's a list of things you got to change at the same time. It's not every single thing. I'm not changing the evaporator if somebody's compressor starts leaking or breaks out under the hood, but we're changing that condenser, the condenser that has, the receiver dryer built into it. That's getting done every single time. And AC on car gets real expensive. Not from my perspective, it does, but it's not as expensive, I guess, maybe as the residential HVAC. But when you got to tell somebody their car that's worth $1,000 needs $2,300 worth of AC repair done, that's a tough day. That's a tough day.
Roll them windows down, baby.
Yeah. But what blows me away, and I don't know if you guys see this or not, but for automotive, it's like what someone is willing to spend to have air conditioning working is absolutely mind-boggling to me. It's someone, I mean, not that I would recommend it, but I have watched clients go, I know you said I need brakes, but I can't afford to do them both. So fix the AC. And it's like the priority, the tires are bald, but no, fix my AC. That's what I want fixed first is the AC.
That's how people are. That's why when COVID happened, we weren't really that worried about it because people aren't going to sit in their house and sweat. When the AC breaks, they're going to fix it come hell or high water. Virus, no virus, Martians, it doesn't matter. They're going to fix the AC. But listening to you talk, how you explain it, you probably know, even though you work on automotive, you probably understand and know how to work on the AC system better than 95% of apprentices out there. Because just how you were explaining it, I could ask some apprentice what a receiver is, and they'd have no goddamn clue what I'm talking about. You there, buddy? We were sticking for a second.
Yeah. Now I can hear you. Yeah. Well, for sure. with automotive AC, man, there's a lot of explaining to do. That's what I love to do. I love talking to clients and explaining to them why we have to do what we do. While you were talking, it just popped into my head. How big of a deal is computers for you guys? I mean, is the thermostat the brain of the whole outfit? Or
yes, I would say it's not as important to us as it is to you. And I always knew there was computers, but until talking to you about some things and how they work and how they send out the signals, we haven't gotten there yet. Apparently some of the outdoor units are going to start to get where like, some of the commercial stuff may be where like computers are built into it. Like you don't even got to hook your gauges up anymore. It's just going to tell you what it is on the computer. Yeah. Well, codes, and it's going to tell you what the pressures are. Like suction is, 112 PSI, blah, blah, blah. So I don't think it goes as deep as the automotive industry, but I think once again, that we're going to be right behind you.
Yeah. So with automotive, we have a body control computer that controls a lot of things, and every manufacturer is a little bit different the way they do the networks of their computers. But what I will tell clients is, man, your car is like a rolling office complex going down the road as far as the amount of computers that are in it. Even a 15-year-old Audi, that thing probably has 60 computers in it. And they're all talking together. They're all multiplexed together. And a lot of things that can go wrong in a car, you could have someone's AC not working, but there could be something else triggering that. There could be, because the AC is considered, the engine computer might say, hey, we got to shut down AC. We got to shut down AC because we're going to overheat. And sometimes you start with an AC that doesn't work, but you end up finding out there's some deeper problem where you get some sensor on some other, what you think is some unrelated system closing down the AC and making it so it can't run. So I mean, the computer side of things is super complicated. And then for my guys, because we're an independent shop, so we're dealing with everything from Chevrolet to Toyota to Audi, Volvo, all of them. They're all coming in. So, and they all do things just a little bit different. I'm sure you guys got that too, though, right? Because you have all your different manufacturers. They do things a little bit different as well.
Yeah, I would say like not as bad as you, because maybe they're wired a little different way, but they're all doing the same thing. For you, it's probably a little bit different. I just know from owning different cars. Like I remember back in the day when I thought it was a big shop with no kids and I had a Jaguar, but it cost me $250 for an oil change. Like, this thing takes 12 quarts of oil.
That doesn't surprise me. You're Mr. Mac. You have all the toys. So it doesn't surprise me you started early with the Jaguar. Awesome.
It got repoed for the record.
Oh man.
It was a rough time in life. It got repoed over $67. But that's funny. One thing, I know it's not HVAC, but I thought was really cool is, and a lot of these guys, explain to me what you were saying about the one day, how you said how it sends out all the little signals, like it's constantly going out, and sometimes that's how it'll like drain your battery. Remember the conversation we had?
Oh yeah. I think I was telling you about a nightmare job. I had a nightmare job where this lady's car the battery would go dead if it's sat overnight, and the term for that is a parasitic drain. So it is normal for the computers on a car to draw a little bit of current all the time. It's why if you let a modern car sit for 3 weeks, you're going to have to jumpstart that thing. We had one of the company vans, right, that we had to jumpstart because it drains a little bit all the time. But when you have a drain when you're normally driving your car once a day, I had to tell people during COVID this all the time: go out and drive your car just at least a couple times a week to keep that battery replenished. But if you got something overnight where you go out to the car and it's dead, you have a parasitic drain of some sort, something that's drawing too many amps during the night. And we all know about this, right? Like if you left the lights on, that could be an example, and that's obvious. But if you have a computer, just like your laptop, if your laptop goes to sleep, right? And so it goes into a power saving mode. All the computers on the car, after the car sits for 20, 30 minutes, all the computers should go into like a sleep mode. And if you have one of those computers that's being pinged in some way, it's being, there's some input happening to it that's keeping it awake. It can be a parasitic drain. So I had this lady who, her car, her van, it was a minivan, and it would go dead overnight only when it was parked at her house. And but it wouldn't do it if it was anywhere else. And what I ended up figuring out was I finally got to the place with this lady. I said, where are all your key fobs? Where are they at? And then she's like, oh, I gave them all to you. And then she goes, wait a second. I got one. There is one more that had stopped working a while ago, and it's in the junk drawer at the house. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Why don't you bring that one to me? And lo and behold, what happened was she had her van. She would park in her driveway right next to her kitchen. And her kitchen had the junk drawer in it where there was this key fob that was broken and something had spilled in the drawer. And so that key fob was basically just like a button being pushed, like someone just holding down a button all night long. And it was keeping the security computer awake, and it drained the battery down on this thing. So those are the kind of things you pull your hair out on, dude. Well, and I can see, I mean, under your hat, you pulled all your hair out already.
Yeah, it's been out. I'm starting to work on facial hair.
Yeah.
Somebody has a pretty good question for you. My friend Jason, so he does all like commercial industrial stuff, like all big things. He said he's curious, in the auto world, are the compressors VDC and variable capacity? So are they DC voltage and are they variable capacity, or are they just like, do you know? So when you measure them, it's got to be DC current, right?
Yeah. The clutches work off of DC current. I will say it is, some of the hybrid ones might be on AC current. I couldn't say that for sure, but traditionally, yeah, that clutch is going to work off of DC current.
So not the most common problem in a car, because that would be just a vague issue. The most common problem on a car AC, what is it? Because I'm just thinking about that compared to like a residential system.
Yeah, by far leaks. By far. Yeah, by far. And just from over time, I've just learned you can just start. You can only the number one thing first on a newer car is not going to be a traditional leak like on a hose or something. It's going to be something came up off the highway and hit and popped a hole in that condenser. Number one. I actually you take a flashlight through the grill if you see most of the condenser, because it's right behind the grill. That's going to hit the first time. That's super common on newer cars. But as they get older, they leak in other places. Leaks are by far the most thing. And it's usually what condemns components too. I mean, compressors do fail internally, but by far they leak. The bodies of those things will leak. They're exposed to so much heat and so much cold as well. You got cars that, they sit overnight in the wintertime and they're going getting below freezing, and then they warm up, and then they're a couple hundred degrees. It's just going back and forth and back and forth. And when you get a vehicle that's over 10 years old, things start leaking. Number one.
No, that makes perfect sense. It's funny, the same guy, Jason. So this is actually something the automotive industry gave us that we wish they never did. And that is microchannel coils.
Sorry.
Yeah. Just like a radiator. So for us, normally like a coil, it'll be copper tube and fin, or it's all aluminum, but it's the tubes with the refrigerant. It's got the fins going over for the exchange of, heat or absorbing. And it has, the refrigerant takes several passes through the coil. Those microchannel things, it's one big pass. They're known to leak. They're a pain in the ass. And there's a few manufacturers that did them, and there was a bunch of lawsuits about them. Like, I get it why they would do it. Well, I guess I kind of get it why they would do it in automotive, but in our side, those things suck.
So they're linear, like the Freon. You're saying the Freon's going through it one pass.
That's what the microchannel is. Yeah. It just goes through and then kind of goes through all these little grooves versus having like a distributor that's going to take it in little spots. So it makes a whole bunch of different passes through the coil.
Yeah.
So it's pretty wild.
How often do you have to change condensers in AC, residential AC?
Normally never. I mean, you might, well, unless you replace the system. I mean, every once in a while you might get one that's leaking. And if it's copper, then you can braze that spot. Now they've got a lot of like, my friends over at Solder Weld have these things to be able to like fix aluminum repair. But normally it happens when it's under warranty. So most of them, as long as it's registered, you got 10-year part warranty. So normally if it's going to happen, it happens in that 10 years. And after that, depending on what the refrigerant is, a lot of times people are replacing the system. We don't see that. Normally it's inside, like little lines, like every time that compressor starts up and like something's rubbing, one of those little things rubbing and starts to leak or like a copper U-bend or something. But normally the leaks are inside because it used to be back in the day when you'd have aluminum fins with copper tube. So you had the formicary corrosion, you had dissimilar metals, so eventually it would start to be little pinhole leaks. And that's when it began to be a problem, especially when we started going from R22 to 410 because it went to higher pressures. Then they tried to go to all aluminum coils, but they made the aluminum too thin, trying to think it would be like more efficient. And we had all kinds of leaks. And then they realized, okay, we can do all aluminum to get rid of the formicary corrosion or the dissimilar metals, but we got to make it a little bit thicker. So it was kind of like growing pains doing it. And we all suffered making bullshit repairs for the longest time.
Yeah, sounds similar to automotive. The engineering afterthoughts that happen. And when they get out into the real world, like a side note, I laugh when clients say, yeah, I got this new car and, it got Consumer Reports best car of the year or something. It's like, cool. That's great. It's brand new, but wait 5 years, 6 years, see what happens. Yeah, it's like, I want to know, no one ever does no one ever reviews these things after they've been on the road for 10 years and they start breaking. And when they're brand new, I mean, they should be great.
Yeah, right. I mean, we see the same thing. Like you can find 10 different websites and they all say that this is the best HVAC brand. This one's the best. This one's the best. No, this one's the best. But what I think's funny is like, we have like, I'm just going to use this one, like Carrier, for example, like Carrier, Bryant, Payne. They're all made by Carrier. So you'll see one site that's like, Bryant's the best, but Carrier sucks. That's like saying, I love Chevy, but GMC sucks. It's like, it's the same goddamn thing. Like, what do you mean? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Right. Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, those things get weird. But I do think like one thing I give to you guys when in the automotive world is like, we have a common set of problems and it's dedicated. Like for you guys, you have the AC, the transmission, the engine, the electrical side, the brakes. Like there's a lot to it. So that's why I've always had respect for mechanics and there could be, 5-6 different problems in totally different like departments or areas. That would be like us going to a house and the customer's got 5 AC systems with different problems. I mean, it's kind of similar to me.
Yeah. With automotive too, people live with things, right? So sometimes, I mean, you guys probably deal with this too. Just the scientific diagnostic process. You got to run a system. You got to have a plan, and you have to execute a plan in order to diagnose something. And I'm assuming this happens in HVAC, but I have technicians in automotive where the client came in, I'm always preaching to my techs, you've got to start with the customer complaint. What did they say they got a problem with? Because you got someone that comes in and they talk about a noise that they got, and you can't get past the fact that, it's 110 degrees outside and the AC doesn't work. So you get stuck on the AC part of it. Or, okay, yeah, they talked about a brake noise, but you're walking around the car and the tires are bald. And there's just so many conflicting, you got to start with what the person said, not get too distracted, but you have to at the same time take notes about what you see and then write it all down so you can present everything, all the details to them, and then help triage them about what's most important for safety. Because sometimes some people come to you, the thing that they ask about it is far from the most important thing that they need to give attention to. And you got to sell it that way. And that can be difficult.
I love that you said that, because one of the analogies that we always make in our industry is, how you just said, we might be there for one thing or to do a maintenance, but everything that we see that's not the way it's supposed to be, we need to bring it to the customer's attention. And we always say, if you don't, it's like going into a mechanic and getting your car worked on, and they're there to change your brakes, but they don't tell you that your rotors are bad. Right. You would never let your guys do that. Like you just said, nope. You might be there for one thing, but if you see other issues, you at least have to let the customer know. If they don't fix it, hey, but you did your job and you were thorough.
Right. Yeah. And sometimes you feel like a bad guy, or you feel, this is where trust comes into play a lot. I mean, I'm very blessed. We had a lot of really good clients that would come to us, not only time after time, but like car after car, every car they got. And not only that, but maybe generation after generation. So I'm working on grandfather's car, and then the son comes in, and then the grandson comes in. So you got like a whole fleet of cars in it. Trust is huge, and trust is huge in that situation. But if it stinks, it's when that person is their first with you. You haven't had a chance to build any trust yet. And you got to tell them bad news. You got to tell them news that they did not expect. And that can be difficult. So sometimes you got someone, you have to tell them like, hey, as much as I love fixing things, I don't think you should fix this car, because you got way too much stuff going on with it. And that's a tough conversation to have. But usually reasonable people are, and I would imagine this with HVAC too, reasonable people, good people are going to thank you for it. They might bitch and moan about it a little bit, and you might get an emotion, and you gotta stay in there. You gotta take it, and you gotta hold your ground, and you gotta say, hey, this is what I see. I think I'm really concerned about you, or, just, you got to be confident with it.
Yeah. And like you said, when it comes to safety, we have that. Like I had one today when I was riding with our new guy, Eric, and the guy had a furnace from 1983.
Awesome.
And the thing's working. And to be honest, it didn't look that bad for a 1983. The only thing I noticed is like the ignition control, like the sequence was off. Like it would light every time, but it would never light, like it was intermittent. Like it would never light in the same sequence. So I let the guy know about it. It was kind of dirty. And I told him, I said, hey, like, I know you already know this. This thing is not efficient. It's very old, and I said the same thing about the water heater. And he was like, yeah, I know, but it's one of them things, man, where it works. And I don't want to have to spend money if I don't. And I couldn't prove to him that it was unsafe. It didn't have a cracked heat exchanger. It was meeting all the temperatures. Everything was doing what it was supposed to. We cleaned it very good, made sure it was working, recommended some other cleanings that he needed. But I told him, I said, well, why don't I do this? I said, I'd be willing to give you a deal on the furnace, because the air conditioning portion is new. I said, I'd be willing to give you a deal on the furnace and the water heater. But the only thing is you have to do it before April. Like once we start getting in the AC season, then I wouldn't be able to do it. And we talked. And then I sent the quote over to him, and he's like, well, let me talk to the boss, talking about his wife. He said, but I think that's a pretty good deal, and the payment's pretty cheap. Like, we might go ahead and do that. And if he does it, great. If he doesn't, we had a good conversation. He trusts me. I was honest about everything. And if not, we still got a maintenance plan with a guy, and he's eventually going to buy that furnace from us. It doesn't have to be now. I don't need to beat him up and take his wallet. It's about building those relationships. And that's what me and Ryan, we try to preach to all of the guys. Like, don't go out there and offer or try to sell things for selfish needs, because it'll always backfire and it's going to be dishonest. But if you go out there and you literally try to build a relationship, show the people that you give a damn, and be really, really thorough, it's amazing how the revenue just kind of follows that. Like my first call, I brought the guy's trash cans around in a hailstorm, and the guy was like, dude, like, you didn't have to do that. And I was like, no worries. I didn't have to do it, but I did, man.
That's why I love working with you and Ryan. You have the same heart about things. Like, man, what you just described, that is not a slick business plan. Like no CEO sat in an office and devised that plan. It's not some slick new sales gimmicky thing. It's just being a good human and playing the long game, being honest with people. It's just part of having good character. And it's sad that stands out, because in automotive, our industry has a bad rap. HVAC, I don't know if it's as bad as automotive, but automotive definitely has a bad rap. And it's like, man, it doesn't take a whole lot to just be a good human being, be honest with people, be excellent at your work. That's a given. You're gonna have to know your stuff. But if you're honest with somebody, it doesn't take a whole lot to stand out from the pack. And when you stand out from the pack, the revenue just comes in and comes in and comes in. And you'll find yourself not having to fight for every lead, because they'll just be coming to you. Again, it'll be granddad came in and now all of his kids aren't allowed to go anywhere else. They only come to your shop, and they trust you. They start asking for you by name. And it's a long game, but it's the best way to grow.
Yeah, and it just feels good. Like, I get we're in the day and age of the interweb and the internet and all this stuff, but you still can't beat word of mouth. And I loved it. I went out on a call. I stopped by to see a guy the other day, Monday, and the father was there because his daughter had to work. And we're taking care of whatever. And we had just been out to do a maintenance, so we didn't charge him to go out. And I'm talking with the dad, and we're BSing. And he was like, yeah, man. He's like, you guys are awesome. He was like, I had another company servicing my house, and my daughter had another company she got sick of. So she got you guys. And right after you guys left, she called me and said, Dad, you need to fire your company and hire these guys. I've never had an experience like them. And that's exactly what the father did. And I left there being like, hell yeah. Like, that's exactly what we preach in the meetings. That's exactly what we want. We want to be so different that people are like, I got to use these guys.
Yeah.
How can I not use Beltway?
Yeah.
And it's awesome. And like you said, it's just being good at what you do and being a good person and being thorough, that you can, that's why I love technical and communication. I don't ever say sales, because if you're good technically and you can communicate what you're doing to the customer, you will win in the long run. That's just, that's just the way it works. You don't have to sell anything.
Yeah, I agree. I always would look for people. So automotive is a little bit different, the way we structure our business compared to HVAC. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys are the tech, but you're also the communicator too. I'm not going to use this. I'm not going to say salesman, but you're also the communicator when you're out there as well. Automotive, like the car kind of disappears back into the shop. Technician inspects it, writes a report, and then you have a service writer that comes out to you, and they're the ones that communicate. And so it's a little bit different in that sense, but communication is still number one. And what I would look for with service writers is I would look for someone at a heart of a teacher, somebody who's willing to teach a client what's going on. Now, not every client wants to know. You got to have enough emotional intelligence to realize, like, this guy just wants to get out of here. He doesn't want a PowerPoint presentation. He doesn't want me to write on a chalkboard and show him like why his alternator's bad. He just wants me to fix it. A lot of people are like that, but some people really, really appreciate understanding why. I always love those clients, because I'd lose time talking to them because they were curious, and I loved teaching them something. But either way, if you have a heart of a teacher and you're willing to explain for those clients that care, it's going to go a long way.
Yeah. And I love that heart of a teacher, because as a teacher, you teach students that want to be taught. And I love that, because I used to be that guy. We're the nerds about what we do. Some customers, they'll ask questions and you can get into it, but most of them aren't like, I'm like, yeah, your compressor is this, and it spins around and it has a little thingy on the back. And they're like, does it work? Like, I don't care. Like, you have to know when to say that. So that's funny, because we do that in our industry, and I've done that. I used to talk myself out of things because I couldn't shut up, and people are like, oh my, I just want you to leave, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want you anymore.
When you're talking there, the one thing that popped in my mind is most people, it's kind of universal, is a picture is easy. So taking up, using sometimes your cell phone is the best tool you have as a technician. I imagine that's the same with HVAC too. That tablet or that phone, man, just taking a picture and just saying, hey, I need to replace this thing. Look at this. And they might not know what they're looking at, but they know what rust looks like. And they might not know what they're looking at, but they know what a crack looks like. And you're like, yeah, get that out of my house. Get that out of my car. Let's do it.
Plus, they say people have that mental, like we always tell the guys, if you can take the customer down to the system or out to the system, that's the best way. Hey, this coil is dirty. Do you think that's good or bad for the system? Oh, that's definitely bad. You kind of get that psychological thing going, let them answer questions, they're involved. But some people can't, they did the call and they're on a conference call and a meeting and they give you 10 minutes and you have to use pictures. But yeah, that's better than nothing. Like, hey, look, this coil is dirty. Like, that's what it looks like. And they're like, oh my God, like, you want me to clean that? Like, yes, please do. You show them, it makes sense. And one thing, Ryan, like, I've always said this, and Ryan said he always, steals it from me, that I always say, like, you can't go downstairs. You can't go in somebody's house and be a ninja and then go up and try to offer them a bunch of stuff. You have to earn the right to give the customer options. And if you don't, like, you can't go downstairs, be down for 30 minutes. They don't hear a peep from you. And you all of a sudden you come up and it's like, oh yeah, hey, it's going to be, you need a new one. It's going to be like 25 grand. They're going to be like, what? Get the hell out of my house. You know what I mean? Or when we tell our techs, you can't just send estimates. Like, you're like, hey, everything looks good with your system. Okay, Mr. Smith, have a good day. And then you go out in the truck and you send them 6 estimates on things they should add. Well, you didn't have a conversation about those, why they need them, if they even want them. So now you're just wasting time. That's not how that works.
So do you go downstairs and do you act like the dad from the Christmas Story? Start cussing and yelling at the furnace downstairs to make it sound like this thing's rough, man. This thing's real rough.
Smacking it with a hammer. Bing, bong, black smoke on my face. It was funny. Go ahead. I was going to say, I just saw the quote the other day from, what's the other one? The Bad Dads, or the one that has like Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg, and the dads are like, did you touch the thermostat? Who touched the thermostat?
Oh, yes.
Somebody touched the thermostat? I'm like, that is every HVAC dad right there. Like, who touched the thermostat? Yeah. Like, we'll go nuts.
Yeah. I'm with you. I got 4 kids, man. So that makes sense to me a lot.
Hey, me too. That's where we're on point, man.
4 no more, baby. 4 no more.
Yes. Amen. I want to keep the little bit of hair I got left. I got a free trial of Keeps, so I'm rubbing my little cream in every day. And I'm trying to bring back like 80s hair metal band, because I'm telling you, if this works, I'm growing an afro, everybody. I'm just letting you know. I'm going to have long hair.
Man. I can't wait. I can't wait. This is going to be amazing.
I can't wait either. I can grow hair everywhere on my body except right here on the front of my head. But I know, man, we got to talking about that, so we only got like 10, 15 minutes because I won't keep you too long. But I want to get into the other side of things real fast is, the consulting and helping businesses. So now that you've done the consulting, what do you find most rewarding? And what have you seen as one of the biggest things that you have to implement?
The thing that I find most rewarding is selfishly, I love learning. I've learned a ton, man. The main client that we have is a client that does traditional sales. It's in-home sales. You're a construction company for installation. And so I coming from automotive, and we're talking about some of what we talked about tonight is about sales. But I'm with you when you say it's more about communication. And I never really thought of myself as a salesperson when it came to automotive. I'm an expert. Come to me and I just present you with what I find. And some people, most people appreciate it, some don't, and that's fine. But I did my job. But man, I've learned a ton about actual sales, like when you have to find the lead and you have to go and you have to present, and it's a little bit like theater. Like you have to go, and I don't mean that in like a deceptive way, but just like these sales guys, man, I've learned a ton from them, because they got to get psyched up. They got to go when they go in that house. They are on the stage and they have to present what they've learned. So, or what they have to offer. So I've learned a ton about business, but being around another business, but then there's other pieces of it that's the same. That's the same. It's universal. And the other part of your question is like, wait, what was the second part of your question? The first was what was the most rewarding, right?
The most rewarding, and then the most. What do you think is like the? What was it? The
Did you say important? I just went blank. What you asked screwed you up.
It was the most rewarding, and then what is like the first thing that you think, like the most important thing you think they need it?
Okay, yes, because I knew what I was going to say, but I was like, what was the actual question you asked? But what popped in my mind first was people and culture. It's the most important. And that's universal with business, man. People and culture. We go in, people, when someone brings us into a company, their first thing that they're thinking about is, hey, I need more. Usually it's like, I need more leads. I need more sales. I need a marketing strategy. And that might be true. But if you don't have a culture where your employees love coming to work every day, and what I mean is not that you have necessarily, it's not like coming to Google where you have massages and free lunches every day. I'm not talking about just like making it so work easy for them. I mean, making it a place where they feel challenged when they come to work in a good way, not overwhelmed, not bored, but challenge, like a right amount of challenge, when they know what their job is, when you've created a system so that they know exactly what they're doing when they come, and when they have the tools that they need and they're equipped to do their job right. And where they feel like they're known, they're not just like a number in your company. I know, HVAC, some of these companies are smaller and everybody knows everybody, but some of them are a little bit bigger. And it's like, it doesn't matter if it's a small company or a big company. It takes work to make employees know that they are cared for every day. And that creates culture, and that it's really hard to quantify. And when we talk to owners, it's like they want to talk about sales numbers, metrics, all that stuff. And it's like, yeah, that's all important, but it all is predicated on the fact that you're a good human being that has created a culture where employees want to come. And I think with the trades, with blue collar, the blue collar trades, it's a beautiful thing when someone loves their craft. And most technicians that I bump into, they just want to be appreciated. They want to know that they're seen, and they'd be fixing stuff even if no one was paying them to do it. I don't mean that they'd spending 40 hours a week fixing ACs for other people, but I mean a lot of these guys. Even if they had another job, they'd be fixing stuff on the side because it's just part of who they are. Yeah. And if you're able to appreciate them, make them feel like they belong and they're seen when they come to work, I mean, that's a good culture. And I'm always, and with business, I'm always thinking about the 3 wins. The employee, which I just talked about, has to win, has to feel like they come to work, they're appreciated, and pay is part of that. How you pay the guy is part of that, but it's not always the most important. So that's got to be one win. The client that comes to you, they got to feel like they're getting value for what they're paying you. They got to feel like they won. And at the end of the day, the business owner has to win too, because the business has to win. If the business doesn't win, the business isn't going to be there in 10 years. You can't just give everything away. So all 3 people have to win. It's a balancing act. I love working it. I love helping companies figure out what the balance is. What's the sweet spot for them? And a lot of times you find that the sales numbers just follow.
Yep. I love that answer, man. I mean, knowing you, I know that answer. And I feel like in our industry, so many people talk about, oh, we have a good culture. And the word gets thrown around that it gets watered down. But the fact of the matter is, it is so true. And no 2 cultures can be the same, because it's different people. They're all different, but that's what makes them special. And I've worked for the bigger companies around here when I've called the HR department and they know who I am. And they're like, what's your employee ID number? I'm like, it's Gil. Like, yeah, I know Gil, but what's your employee ID number? Like, are you kidding me? And being appreciated that you want to go to work. And one thing I loved, and to be honest, I learned this from Ryan, was the three C's, challenge, clarity, and care. Are you providing that for your employees? And we do that on a regular basis. When I do their, reviews, I'll go through that. Like, am I providing this to these people? And I try to break down and be honest. And then I'll let them tell me. Like, I'll write down what I think and I'll be like, do you agree with this? And sometimes they're like, Gil, I love you, but you definitely didn't do this. But you know what? That's how we get better. That's how we grow.
How do you do it? Do you do a scale of 1 to 10? Or when you ask an employee, it's like, how do you feel your clarity is on your job? How do they respond? Did they say yes or no? Or
so I'll do a scale. So it's kind of an open-ended question, but I'll do a 1 to 10, and then I'll try to write down examples that I think that I did it with that particular employee. And then I'll show it to them and be like, this is what I see on my side. What do you see on your side? And sometimes it's the same. We just have different ways of saying it. And sometimes we're on complete opposite ends. And they're like, to be honest, like when you did that, I thought you were being a pain in the ass. Like, oh, well, I'm sorry, man. I would, my intentions were good when I did that, but maybe it didn't come across that way. So having that open line of communication and them know that they can be honest with me, like, they're not going to lose their job if they're like, I don't like it when you did this last week or whatever it is. I can't get respect if I don't give it. That's no matter what your position or title is, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. When you manage people, and many of us in the trades, we feel, I know I felt wildly underqualified, because when you manage people, you have to have you feel like you have to have a psychology degree to be able to figure out, because the next guy coming through the door is going to perceive everything you just said completely different, right? Each employee is totally different. The people are a great blessing, but it also can be one of the biggest challenges to running one of these as well. And we need people. We need people to love what they do, to free them up to do it well. And I mean, hats off to you, man, for doing that, because a lot of guys just get stuck. A lot of managers, especially in the blue collar trades, where we're just trying to churn out work, trying to, the calendar's full and no one takes time to actually, hey, come on in my office and sit down. Let's have a conversation, or let's go out to lunch, or like that goes a long, long way. So good job for doing that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. You see, those guys are always in my office, we're always BSing about something. And, sometimes that's just keep building that relationship. And, one thing I used to say when I coached like little league sports and stuff, I would always say, you have to, obviously you're trying to teach a lesson every practice or whatever it is, but you have to know which kids to kick in the ass and which kids to pat on the ass, because you might yell at this kid and that's what he needs. He needs that discipline. But this kid, if you yell at him, he's going to shut down. You got to build him up. It's the same when you manage, it's not a one size fits all. I might be able to discipline this guy and be like, hey, you didn't listen to me. Like, better than that. Like, don't do it again. The next guy, if I say that, he's going to be like, oh, well, fuck you, Gil. And he goes out and does a horrible day. But if I'm like, hey, man, like, you're better than that, I got to approach it different. Each individual person has to have their own little custom little cup or box that's just for them, because it's not a one size fits all.
Yep. And what you're doing when you do that, what you're creating is, I always have a mental picture in my head of all like little stick figures of all the guys that are under my care, all my team. They're my people. And I don't want them in looking inward and blaming each other. A bad culture is where you're looking inside. When problems happen, people are pointing fingers at other departments or other people. That guy's the problem, and they're looking inside. I want to have all my guys, all my stick figures that represent my guys. I want them in the circle, and I want them facing out, because we got lots of problems every single day. We're fighting the laws of entropy. Science class tells us, whether it's HVAC or whether it's automotive, this is the law of entropy. Everything is moving towards a state of disorder. Everything, they're created in the factory and they're breaking the moment that they're on a trajectory to break, the moment they go into service. So there are problems. The industry itself has problems. Clients are difficult. There's all kinds of things. I want my team looking out and tackling those challenges, because those challenges aren't going away. They're just way worse if in addition to them, my team looking at each other and pointing blame. And what you're doing when you create an office where people can come in, where there's laughter, where guys know that they're not just a number, you're creating a team where they're in the circle looking out. And I see you work because I'm in your office, so I see your guys. So you're doing a good job.
Well, I appreciate that. Just so you guys know, he does with Ryan. So he works out of our office, and he's literally like right across the hall from me. So I can look out my door and look into his, so we could hear each other's conversations and be nosy and stuff like that. Like, oh, you're talking to that guy.
Yeah. Sometimes when I have my people problems, and I'm on a call with someone, sometimes Gil, you come in and you're my, you're my counselor or something. I'm like, yeah, how did I handle that? I appreciate that.
Hey, I appreciate it too, because I gotta do the same thing sometimes. But man, we're almost at 9 o'clock. I don't want to keep you too long. One thing, just closing what we just said. Another thing that I think about is also making sure whatever process you do to maintain that culture is that it's repeatable and you can use it as you grow. You know, like as you get bigger, that's still going to be followed. Maybe it's got to be more than just one person doing it. Like maybe that's, you know, like we talked about the chief heart officer, we talked about, like, that's got to be a person's job. All your job is to make sure that other people love their job. That's it.
Yep. That's a Gary V thing. That's a Gary V thing, a term. I love it. Instead of, that's what he calls his HR. His HR department, the head of his HR department is actually is the second most powerful person in the company, and he calls her the chief heart officer. And her job is to guard, like, to get a job there, you got to go through her. So she guards the culture from that, because guarding that culture starts at the hiring process. You got to, you know, have someone with the right attitude is oftentimes more important than having someone that has the pedigree of all the certificates or the experience. But if they have the right attitude, you can teach them. That chief heart officer is the gatekeeper to get into the company. But once they're in the company, that chief heart officer is in charge of making sure that those employees feel seen and they're utilized. They're in the right seat on the bus. Sometimes people need to be moved around a little bit. Their interests change, or they need to feel like they can grow and move. And, when's the time to do that?
Yeah,
that's good.
For sure.
That's important.
And you see that. You see that a lot. And I know I see it in our industry. A guy's working an install, wants to do service. He's in service, wants to do install, and vice versa. And having the freedom to be able to say that, hey, boss, I'll do this if you want me to, but I would really love it if I could go do this, So the fact that they can, but a lot of places, like I worked a lot of places coming up in this industry that I couldn't go say that. I didn't feel comfortable going to my boss and being like, hey, I would love to do, if it's okay, I would love to try this, maybe, kind of, sort of, you know what I mean? Because I was nervous to have any kind of confrontation. Like, now they're going to know my name for something bad. You know what I mean? Like, right. It makes you nervous to have those kind of talks.
Is there a tendency, I know in automotive, I've seen this, where there's a tendency of guys, like, they've been in the industry, and as we say, they turned wrenches for years, and there's a perception, maybe like a stigma that they have, because they feel like, I need to be in management. Like, I want to be a service writer or something. I want to manage other people. And so there's sometimes the motivation for doing that isn't necessarily because they love the job, but they just feel like, I need to make more money, or, that's where you go. The natural progression is, well, now you start managing people, or now you start selling, or, being a service writer. But it's not always the best fit for somebody, because just because somebody is a great tech doesn't mean they're going to be great at managing other people, or that they're going to like it.
Yeah, no, to be honest, that was me to a T. I thought that was the next step in my career. But then, my old boss was like, okay, well, now I'm taking my best technician, my most profitable guy, out of the field. So he was like, if I take you out of the field, how is that going to benefit my company? And I'm like, He's like, so I'm going to need you to be able to come up with a way to teach these guys what you do. And at first it was hard because I was like, I hate the office. I felt like the clock was like tick, 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 tick. Like I was finding ways to get back out. But then, to be honest, that's why coming to Beltway really, like, before I came here, I almost was like, I don't know if I even want to be in management anymore. You know, like maybe I'll just go back to being a senior tech, just get in the field. I was making more money as a technician than I was in management anyway. I'll just go back and do that. But coming here kind of, you know, reignited what I wanted to do, to have first of all, I didn't think that there would be a company. When Ryan was talking and we thought the same way, like we were finishing another sentence and I was like, I didn't think companies like this exist. So when I found out they did and I could be a part of it, I was willing to take a lot less money to come here. And it's the best decision I ever made, because I got my love back for the industry. And now the same passion I took in serving those customers and wanting to be master my craft and be the best at it, now it's trying to make them be the best, to be the manager that I never had, to make sure that they have the resources to teach them. And I'm still growing, you know, like I'm not good at like Excel sheets, like the way that you guys do stuff. Like I made that one Excel sheet that does all the average tickets. I shot my load, man. Like it's awesome. I don't know if I could ever do it again, but I'm willing to keep learning and evolving. Like the manager.
Dude, I'm laughing right now because I make it up as I go. I got to Google everything, man. You might think I'm good at a spreadsheet. I'm not.
Well, that's what I did. I watched like 16 videos and Excel videos on how to do that. But, you know, and me and Ryan having a talk the other day, like, you know, the general manager that I am right now, which I actually officially have a title now, you know, the general manager that I am right now, I need to evolve because where we are at a, you know, $3, $4, $5 million company, well, it might be totally different at 10 and at 15. You know, I'm going to need to evolve with it. I can't be that $3 million GM when we're a $10 million company, or guess what? Beltway's going to outgrow me. You know what I mean? And I don't want that to happen. So you got to keep moving. So
if you keep that attitude where you're going to empower people, like if you keep that coach attitude, that little league coach attitude where like, I am going to set these guys up for success. It's not about me. It's about the company and about these young techs coming up. You'll be just fine. You'll be all right.
I appreciate that, man. Well, we're over an hour. Nate, I want to thank you for coming on, man. I'm really glad that we did this. And you came on, brother. I appreciate you, man. I'm glad that we've been able to work together. I'm glad that we've been able to become friends. I think that you're just an all around, like, good dude. Like you said, good human, man. I think you're a good Christian guy. You're somebody that somebody else can look up to for just being a good guy, good advice. So I appreciate you, man. I really do. I mean, I've said that in the past, but I do.
Yeah. I appreciate you a lot, man. I think it's cool. When you asked me to be on the show, I was like, what am I going to talk to your audience about? I'm not even in the same industry, but yeah, a tech is a tech, man. And it's fun to talk to other techs and hear the challenges and the awesome blessings that there are. They're very similar. Yeah.
I mean, hey, in the comments, I don't know if you can see them on your side. Can you see the comment? I mean, the comments have been going crazy. So it's, you know, everybody's been, you know, has loved it. So I knew that this would mesh well. And guys, remember, any of you guys, if you want to learn about business or if you don't, it's still a good conversations. Go check out their podcast, the Ryan and Nate Service Podcast. Same place you would find mine, you know, Apple, Spotify, all those kind of places. All the same places. Go check that out and give them a download. So I know that you'll enjoy it. I listen to it, you know, every week. So, cool. All right, brother. Thanks, I thank you for coming on, man. I appreciate you. I won't keep you any longer, and I'll see you in the morning.
All right, buddy. See you then.
Bye. All right, brothers. See you, man. Oh man, guys. That was awesome, dude. I'm so glad that I had Nate on, man. Like I said, Nate is just a really, really good guy. And I knew that this would be a cool conversation because how we feel about mastering our craft and HVAC, that's Nate. So, I mean, to try to make an equivalent, Nate is like, if we were talking about like Jim Bergman in HVAC or Brian Orr Craig Migliaccio, AC Service Tech, Trevor Matthews, Refrigeration Mentor, like those kind of guys. Like that's how he knows his craft. You know what I mean? So awesome conversation. Thank you guys for everybody that showed up. If I missed you, obviously thank my moderators. Mr. Rookie, as always, he's my brother from another mother. I appreciate you, my man. Thank you to everybody that popped in. If I missed somebody, I'm sorry. When it's just me and another guest, I try to give them all my attention. So my nephew, Zachary, was in here making his little smart ass comments. That's my nephew, who is the pitcher for the Naval Academy. Apparently Ryan left a comment through Facebook. Whoa, smoke shows. Oh, that's Ryan. Yeah, some sexy dudes, bro. But yeah, that's about it, man. Thank you guys, man. I appreciate all of you for being here. I've seen some new names, which I love new names. I am here every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to start doing some podcasts totally separate that are going to be on Instagram and different platforms. So it'll be totally different setup, totally different scene. So it's going to be, you can watch this one and watch that one. It's not going to be the same thing. Also, damn it, what was I going to say here? I have some videos that are coming out. I'm working on the videos. A lot of things going on right now. I'm going to be traveling a lot more, going to other different conventions and expos and stuff this year. So I got one that I'm going to go to next month and then a couple of places in May. So I will be out and about for a little bit. And well, I was going to say something else and I just forgot. Giveaway on Instagram. I have the BLUON bucket hats that I'm giving away. And another thing. So I have another sponsor that I'm in the works with, but I wanted to show these through video though. So it's called Prime Supplements. And most people know I drink 5-hour energies every day, but I got sent these things. I have taken all these personally. Nightcap to be able to sleep, joint supplement, getting ready to be 40. I need to take these little things. Testosterone booster. Stress less, helps with your stress. Lean out. All these different supplements. So I'm trying to work out to get a discount code for you guys to check these out. Obviously, I'm going to finish taking this cycle of stuff before I offer to you guys. I'm going to do myself as the test dummy. So if I drop dead, just know that you probably shouldn't buy these. But yeah, that's about it. If you guys could please follow me on all the social media sites. I now have a TikTok. I'm keeping up with the times, baby. I'm TikToking with the kids. So TikTok, Instagram, really trying to work on building up those platforms. I have some amazing shows coming up. Normally after AHR, we book out for a while. So make sure that you're here every Wednesday. Trying to think, make sure I didn't miss anything. I think that's it. So guys, remember, be safe out there. We all have somebody to make it home to. Be safe. Keep your head on a swivel. Drive safe. Just be thoughtful. Be nice. Try to make somebody else's day better. Teach them something. Learn something every day. There's no reason to say I don't know something with all the resources in the world today. A podcast, a book, a movie, a class, an internet class, whatever it is. Be the best version of you. All right. Nobody's going to knock on your door and just give you what you want. If you want it, get off your ass and go get it. All right. And you guys know if I can help you in any way, I don't know everything by any means, but if I can help you or help give you some resources that I have through the podcast to get you in touch with somebody, I will do that. All you have to do is email me. HVACuncensored@gmail.com. Just so you guys know, the info@HVACuncensored.com email is working now, so you can do that. Also, the merch store is up, HVACuncensored.com. You can find out all the stuff from the podcast, the merch store, all that kind of stuff. You can find even audio podcast, video podcast, all that kind of stuff you can find through the website. All right, guys, remember, I love you guys. I appreciate you. Please be the best that you can be every single day. And remember, let's be better together. Make somebody else's day better. All right. Until next week, I love you, mofos.
Thanks for listening to the HVAC Uncensored Podcast. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Instagram, or email us anytime at hvacuncensored@gmail.com. Now, get back to work. Shut this down. The views and opinions shared on the HVAC Uncensored Podcast may not necessarily be the views and opinions of our sponsors or guests.
Real fast before I end this, Mr. Jason Johnson, send me your address again, buddy, and I will send you that old Vito book bag that I had, like I told you. So I will send that to you, my man. See ya.